Hello, everybody. It's great to be sitting here, sort of, at least on Zoom, with three really special people in our community in celebration of Yom Yerushalayim, the very modern holiday on our calendar that celebrates the reunification of the city of Jerusalem as the capital of the state of Israel and the Jewish heartbeat of our people. And these three very individuals who are probably familiar to most of you have recently returned, being in Israel on various different programs, and we're going to have a conversation about Jerusalem with each one of them, all of us together, about the meaning of this city, the meaning of their experiences there, and how Jerusalem has impacted them recently. So just to introduce them to those of you who may not be familiar, Abby Elson is waving to you, a graduate of Smith Jewish Day School in 2019. She's attending the University of Maryland in the fall. And Haley is also a graduate of the Charles D. Smith Jewish Day School in 2020 and is attending Washington University in St. Louis in the fall. And Mia Raskin, graduate of the Berman Hebrew Academy in 2019, attending Binghamton University in the fall. But each of you were recently in Israel, different kinds of programs. So let's just take the first, each of you would just say what brought you to Israel most recently, what kind of program you were on, and just give us a short overview of those. Abby, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so this year I was on Nativ College Leadership Program, which is a conservative Masorti program. And first semester we're based in Jerusalem, and second semester we're in Tiberia or Yamin Or, depending on your track. I was in Tiberia. And the first semester in Jerusalem is based around studying, so I studied at the conservative yeshiva. And the second semester is volunteering, so I worked at a adult living facility for people with special needs.
Beautiful. And Nativ, of course, is a gap year program, so graduated in 2019, went on Nativ and college in the fall. He went on a very different kind of Israel experience with the senior class at JDS. So tell us a little bit about what that was supposed to be and what it turned out to be.
We went on the JDS trip and we stay at Alexandra Muz High School in Israel. And it's not necessarily school because we only have one semester of senior year at JDS, but it's kind of learn the history of the land while seeing the land that you're learning about. And it's very interactive, like see it, learn it, and then like learn from it, I guess. And so you're supposed to literally go all over Israel and spend multiple days everywhere. And it ended up just being 3 weeks instead of 3 months.
And where did you spend most of those 3 weeks?
We were based in Har Shalom, and in that time we went to Tel Aviv a few times, Jerusalem. We had Shabbat in Jerusalem, and we went up a lot in the north and the Kinneret, and we did a bunch of hikes, and that's all we did in 3 weeks.
So just to give people a sense of geography, Har Shalom is where exactly?
It's like a half an hour east of Tel Aviv, an hour away from Jerusalem. There's a little cute town, not much else around it.
But that wasn't your first time in Israel.
No, it was not my first time in Israel. It was with you.
Oh, right. Right. I actually spent time in Jerusalem, both this trip and in your previous trip with yours truly.
That's true.
Mia.
Yes. Chag Yom Yerushalayim Sameach. I was at a seminary by the name of Torah Ve'avodah, based in Jerusalem, and right off of Emek Raphaim, if that helps you visualize where it was. And the motto of my midrashah was avodah, that learning is very, very important, but it's equally as important to putting it in action. So throughout the year, we spent 3 weeks in the Beit Midrash studying, and the last week of every month, we went out somewhere in Israel, whether it was in the south and the north, all over, and to our Jewish roots, our Israel roots, and also learned about the different historical sites and really brought the Torah to life, which was a really cool experience.
So over my right shoulder is a picture of Mia and me at the Kotel on one of the opportunities I had to visit her. We're very sad. All three of you had your experiences cut short, but we know that I'm pretty confident that all three of you will be back there many, many times in the future. So take all that Israel experience, kind of like zoom into Yerushalayim, because this is the most modern holiday on the Jewish calendar, a holiday that celebrates this particular city and its meaning for our people, and kind of focus in the conversation really about Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem, and what it means to you. So from all, you've all spent a lifetime learning about Jewry, learning about Israel, learning about Jerusalem, saying prayers with the name Yerushalayim, ending your Passover Seders, Lashana Haba Yerushalayim. Jerusalem since you could speak, right? So I'm curious, Jerusalem that you imagined, right? The Jerusalem you actually compare Jerusalem whose air you breathed and experience, like the Jerusalem of your imagination compared to the Jerusalem that you really experienced. Does that make sense? Who wants to dive in first?
I can start. So I never grew up really going to Israel. I hadn't been until my first time was when I was 17. And like you said, going to Jewish day school, I learned all about the history and how ancient it is and the holiness, which it most definitely is. But I think I was surprised when I first arrived to know that there's also this very modern city to it. It's a very dynamic city. There's public transportation, there's cafes, restaurants. It was definitely a surprise, but I think now that's one of the things that I appreciate most about it, is that it's a city that's able to continue being relevant to us and still maintain that holiness even in modern times.
Yeah, I was thinking the same lines. Like, since I translated to JDS, even at Hebrew School at Har Shalom, we learned so much about the history of Jerusalem and how, like, who's controlling it, how the people doing, all of the groups that are there, and not necessarily about the modern aspect of Jerusalem. I think being there, like, you have the busiest markets I've ever been to, so much food, great food, and it's all like there's all these modern food things that you would not think about when you see the word, when you hear the word Jerusalem, and it's just a very modern place that while still being able to preserve its historical roots.
Great, yeah.
I think what's really cool about Jerusalem is that it has these nicknames that we sing about like Ir HaAtikah, the antique city, or Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, the golden city, or like what Haley and Abby said, like the holy city. There are all these different ways of describing this incredible city, and you question yourself, like how can one city have these characteristics in place? Like, it doesn't make sense. I think that's the essence of how special it is, how we're taking something that's so precious and still keeping the whole alive and the sanctity of it, and feeling the history. Like, you walk down the streets and you know all the history that you're walking on, like literally the ground that like it feels like you're walking down history. I think that's we're able to maintain that historic holy aspect, exactly what Haley and Abby were saying, while also like keeping it golden, keeping it growing and rising up. And I think that's a really special aspect of Jerusalem.
Amazing. So Mia, you're glitching a little bit when you're talking, so maybe you want to, I don't know, around or something.
Sure, yeah.
But in all that you guys talked about, the markets, the restaurants, the holy places, the streets, I'm wondering, is there one part of Jerusalem that is your happy place, your favorite place? Could be holy, it could be a religious site, could be a restaurant, a cafe, a street, a neighborhood. When you think of your Jerusalem, right? Abby Elson's Jerusalem, Haley Weiss's Jerusalem, Mia Raskin's Jerusalem, what part of it is the most special? Part do you love the most?
Okay.
Hard one.
No, I know exactly what it is.
Okay.
So when I went on the trip with you, remember I was woken up off the bus and told to get out, and that's when we were at the big overlook, like seeing all of Jerusalem, and that's like the first time I set my eyes on Jerusalem. It was just this gorgeous place, and on the overlook you can see everything. It was just so incredible. That's like the moment that's like stuck with me. And on the JDS trip, we also went there and we spent like probably 2 hours like sitting on the ground just in a circle learning so much. And it was in Hebrew, so I can't really remember exactly what it all said, but it was a good conversation. I think it's just so incredible that you have that place that you can see the whole, like all of Jerusalem, all the different neighborhoods and things that make it so special.
So you're talking about the Haz Promenade, where you can see this incredible vista of really the old city and the new city. You just get a whole incredible panoramic view of the city. So that's guys, what's your special place in Jerusalem?
I think for me, well, I think most people would say, oh, they love the old city or the Kotel. And it sounds silly, but my favorite part is actually right outside the old city, looking at Shar Yafo, because it has a specific memory that me and one of my friends, we really liked people watching. So pretty much everywhere we went in Jerusalem, we'd sit at a cafe or whatever and watch people. But specifically at Shar Yafo, whenever we had a morning off from shiur, we'd go and sit there, and we'd bring our little iced cafe and stuff. And we sit there just people watching. It's so cool because it's really the crossroads of the Jewish world. You see people of all religions, but also so many different kinds of Jews and Chayalim who are there for a big ceremony, or people who it's their very first time in Israel, or people who clearly go to the Kotel every day and go to the old city. So I think for me, that's the most special part, and I have really fond memories there. I'm curious, what did you order at that cafe? What's your cafe of choice? Basic. I like the iced cafe. Oh, you mean I like the aroma in Mamilla. That's classic, and you always run into everyone you know there. So
okay.
It's also a Jewish geography point.
For sure. Mia, what's your favorite place in Jerusalem?
Honestly, I'm just in awe of the whole city, and I feel like I was very, very lucky to call it my home this whole year. But I think that the place that really took my breath away was when I went to 2 different tech essays for my 2 friends who are in the Army. I went one for Talia Starr, who's a graduate of the Berman Hebrew Academy, and one for Justin Gaither, who's a graduate of JDS. And they were both male. And just seeing my friends in this mix of all these different kinds of Jews and Israelis and all these people from different backgrounds who all share this one thing in common of protecting Israel, and the fact that that happens in the heart of Israel. Those 2 experiences, looking over everyone, trying to see over the crowds, was just such a you're just so proud, and you're like, wow, this is really incredible how you can turn a dream into reality. So probably Ammunition Hill.
So Ammunition Hill, where people are inducted into their IDF service.
Exactly.
Beautiful. How do you think that, here we are thousands of miles away from Lion. How can this city continue of inspiration for Jews, for teens, for kids, for people living far away? How do we kind of keep Jerusalem in how does it kind of stay a part of us even when we're not physically in Yerushalayim? What does it mean kind of beyond its borders to you? That's kind of an esoteric question, but I
can go first for this one.
Okay.
So I think it's kind of bouncing off of the whole thing about seeing my friends. It's that true idea and that motivation that a dream can really become a reality, and that we should all aspire for certain things, especially growth in our Judaism, and then also just that responsibility that we have, even if we're not in Jerusalem, to stand up for Jerusalem, to be proud of Jerusalem, to spread the love of Jerusalem, and here kind of in that realm. I think that anyone who's in Jerusalem, if you're watching this with your family, after you're done, I think it's your responsibility to talk about your memories, to talk about your favorite sites, to you, if you could be in Jerusalem right now, where would the first place that you'd go be? And I think that we just need to make it our reality right now, even though we may not be there, just to like figure out a way to mentally be there.
I always think about Jerusalem. My mind always goes back to temple times, which seems unrealistic, but at that time it was a physical space of pilgrimage where like Jews would gather, and that's how they really asserted their Jewishness. So now, in the diaspora, I think we look at Jerusalem as more of a metaphor of communal gathering. Like all of the Jews at the time of the temple would come to Jerusalem, and that's how they celebrate Chagim, by making sacrifices and stuff like that. So I think now, anytime Jews sort of gather, whether that be to daven or to celebrate Shabbat or a meal or learning Torah, that's sort of how we represent our Jewishness. And I think that's how we really achieve that holiness aspect of Jerusalem. That being said, there's a reason Jerusalem is still a place of pilgrimage. So I highly encourage everyone to, at some point in your life, strive to go to Jerusalem. It's the most incredible homeland ever. But I think we can take those aspects of Jerusalem and bring them back into our communities in the daily tasks that we do.
Any thoughts about this question, Haley?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is so different about Israel in general and like any other country is the immediate community and like connection that you have with not only the land but also the people. And I think that like when you're walking the streets in Jerusalem, like you can see the community, like everyone's there, everyone wants to help you, all of Israel too. And I think that mentality and like that community aspect, I think it should definitely be brought back to everywhere else, and have like just try to be more welcoming and helpful and just be a better person, like everyone is in Jerusalem.
It's true. There is that spirit of, community in a unique way. I'm even thinking about when we were there this winter, how the buses, the digital messages on the top of the buses said Chag Urim Sameach, wishing people a happy Hanukkah. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing that you really don't see anywhere else in the world. I'm curious, you're talking a lot about community and people watching and the different kind of interesting crossroads that Jerusalem is in the world. I'm wondering, and I didn't share this question with you ahead of time, but what sense did you get of the diversity of Jerusalem, not just among Jews, right, that there are American Jews and Jews from other parts of the world, and certainly a crossroads for the Jewish world, but how much did you interact with other Jerusalemites, so to speak, like whether they be Christians or Muslims, Arabs, people from Armenians, I don't know, other kinds of people who have an attachment to that city? Did you get any exposure to that part of that's part of Jerusalem too? Did you get any sense of that?
I experienced that a little bit because most of the staff who worked at the dorms where we live in, they were Muslim or Christian. And so on every Jewish holiday, we didn't even know they weren't Jewish until the very end of the year. Because on Jewish holidays, they would help us celebrate. They would set up all of our festivities and stuff like that. And then one day we started talking to them, and we found one of them was Muslim, a couple of them were Christian. And we asked them to share a little bit about their culture with us. So then it became a really big sense of conversation where every time we would eat something, we would talk about kashrut, and they would bring up their dietary restrictions. And it was very interesting. It was a small piece and look into what their life is like. But it's interesting because we always think about the conflict and how isolated Jerusalem is. But I think I saw a lot in workplaces also. There were many cultures working together that really need to be appreciated and noticed.
Do you guys have any experiences with the non-Jewish parts of Jerusalem?
So we actually were able to, we went on a whole tour of the Christian kollels, and we went to the stages of the cross. I don't know exactly what it's called.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
What?
You're right.
We went to a bunch of the stops during like that whole process, which was really interesting and an experience I've never had before. And I don't know if that will happen again, but that was just it was really, because there's so many cultures in that one little space, and I think it's incredible.
For me, I got to interact and be a part of this amazing organization called Peace Players. It took place at the YMCA, also known as the Yimka in Jerusalem. And it was really cool because going into my year, I just wanted to be able to play basketball at some point during the week, but it just happened to be that through this connection, I was able to interact with Peace Players, which is an organization that brings together two populations at conflict through the love of basketball. And there are a bunch of different branches of it all over the world through other sports, but the one in Israel just happened to be basketball. And I walk into this gym, and there are girls from ages 12 to 18, and you literally cannot tell who is from where, what background anyone has. They all speak Hebrew. That was just a standard language. And they all just like welcomed me with open arms. And I think that goes to show, like, we're so quick to judge a lot, and we're so quick to come up with a racial profile of someone. But when you walk into a gym with all girls who are just want to play basketball, it doesn't matter where anyone's from. It doesn't matter. And these parents of these kids come to all the games, and then they interact at the games. And I thought that was just like, I wish the whole world could be exposed to something like that, because I didn't know it existed until I just happened to get lucky. But like, it was really a sight to see, and it was an incredible experience and thing to be a part of.
So the Arab kids that were playing basketball with you were from East Jerusalem?
Yes.
And Christians and Muslims?
Christians, Muslims, Jews, everything. Everyone was there.
Did any of you ever have a chance to like get a little deeper about other people's connections to the city, or was mostly kind of the social kind of banter that you've kind of described? Did anything get any more controversial or any more kind of nuanced about different people's approaches to their claims on the city? I
had the opportunity with Nativ. We did a seminar on the conflict, and we sat with a Palestinian woman in her living room in a neighborhood right outside Jerusalem. It wasn't physically in Jerusalem. And the part that I really took away from it was just how emotional her connection is, which was, I don't know, it was difficult for me to hear because I think about my connection to Jerusalem and how emotional that is, and hearing her emotional connection, it just gave me the perspective that we both experience the same emotions, and that's something that should be considered when talking about politics and the situation there.
It really kind of, to me, communicates that there really is something very holy about that place, because it generates such deep, visceral feelings among all people who see it as a spiritual home, right?
Definitely,
Whether
definitely.
Jews, Christians, Muslims, it just has a pull on your soul in a way that is unlike any other place in the world. Let's go back to our Jewish kind of connections. We sing in our tefillot often. We sing the words Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, that Torah comes out of Jerusalem, comes out of Zion, the land of Zion, the land of Israel, and God's word from Jerusalem. How do you see Jerusalem as a source of Torah in the world today, a source of Jewish knowledge in the world today? There are many Jewish centers in the world. There are many places of incredible Jewish scholarship in the world. How is Jerusalem unique? How is it different? Abby, for example, you studied at the conservative yeshiva. What's unique about taking a Jewish text class there versus, in Rockville, Maryland?
Yeah, well, I think the main answer is the fact that you're studying this text, and let's say in my Talmud class we were studying a sugya about Herod and the temple. Well, we can go down to the Old City and see exactly where that happened, and I think it's even more real if we brought our Talmuds. Let's say we had a class and we went down actually to the Kotel, to the Old City, and looked at it. there is nothing like the feeling of learning something and looking at it and like like you said, feeling that presence of the history that is there, looking at the rocks, feeling the rocks. There's really nothing like it.
I totally agree with Abby. Like, it's when you're thinking about going to Israel, I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but like in Berman, like it's pretty given that most kids are going to Israel for the year. And when you're on the fence, they're like, you just have to go. You don't get it until you're there. You just got to go. And I totally agree. You don't get it. But once you're there, like, it's just this whirlwind of motivation to just grow as a Jewish person, to just know more about what you're walking on, to know more about your roots, all the people that walked before you. It's really, really incredible. And I think there was this pathway where you can literally walk the ways that the forefathers walked. And there are these like stands. I don't think this is exactly in Jerusalem, but it goes back to the whole historic connection feeling. And there are these pillars with different quotes from the Torah that exactly relate back to when our forefathers were walking in those exact same steps. And it's out of this world. Like, how nobody else can compare to this the same way that we can. And it just, when you're there, you just can't help but feel chills and like, wow, like I got to get in all my minutes here, because like once I leave, like I can still learn from the same books, but it's not the same magic. It's magic of Jerusalem, magic of Israel. That's, yeah.
Haley, when you were in that preciously short time that you were just there, did you have that experience of like opening up a Tanakh and like going to a site and being like, holy cow, that happened right here?
Yeah. So a lot of things that we actually learned about was stuff that we already knew, that we already taught in school. But like we would go to a hike and then we'd sit down before the hike and tell all the historical context of it, like who was here, what was happening, like thousands of years ago. And even in Jerusalem, like everything, the history is right there. You're walking on it, you're learning, like you're right there on it. And we tried to carry on the classes that we would have in Israel online, and it just wasn't the same because you're not there. They would tell us where we would be, and they're like, wow, that seems incredible, but like it's so different not being there.
Okay, we're gonna play a little game. I didn't prepare you for this. I'm just gonna say something and you're just gonna react. We don't have to all answer the same question. Just one of you shout it out. Okay, ready? So best place to get falafel in Jerusalem?
Har Shalom.
Best place for glida ice cream in Jerusalem?
Katzefet. Or Golda.
Golda, yeah.
Best place for pizza in Jerusalem?
Pizza Sababa.
Thank you for saying that. Anybody else feel that?
I went there.
That was a personal test.
I took you there. Let's see. Best place to get rugelach?
Marzipan.
Yeah.
And where's that? Where's marzipan, Haley? In the shuk, right? Yeah, right. What was the alternative answer?
Devon. It's very good. You have to just walk in a little more. It's to the right. It's a little cheaper, way fresher, not so gooey. It's like that.
Don't talk to me about that.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
The gooier, the better. I don't know what you're talking about. Best place to get a burger?
Oh, Burger Market.
No, the place Joseph's on Agrippa Street. They're top rated.
Best Kabbalat Shabbat?
Roz's minion. I don't know who Roz is, but he has a minion, and it's awesome.
I enjoyed it, Sanim. They had like a youth minion. It was very exciting. B'nai Akiva took over.
Haley, remember where I took you, Shira Chadasha? Remember that place? Just say yes. Let's see. Favorite coffee drink?
Iced coffee.
Yeah. Coffee besides from that.
Let's see. How about best shawarma?
Hashaman.
Confession, I don't think I ate a lot of shawarma when I was there. Thanks.
Best place to shop for gifts for your American family and friends?
Hadaya. I got my mom Hadaya rings.
And who delivered it to her?
The one and only Rob Raskin.
At your service. Where'd you like to shop, Haley?
We didn't get to shopping.
I took you shopping plenty. Did you like Ben Yehuda Street?
The New Year's Street is very special. The New Year's Street was awesome. I got my telesale.
Thank you. Yeah.
Probably the Shook.
The show. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else? All right. Let's conclude with just a special memory. Anything that kind of stands out for you in the time that you spent in Yerushalayim. Just a little vignette that you could share.
I have one. So we spent a Shabbat in Jerusalem, and we did Kabbalah Shabbat at the hotel, and then after we did a bunch of songs and dances right outside, so we were still at the hotel, and we would just sing the classic camp song, camp Jewish songs, and everyone joined in. It was dark outside, and just everyone was joining in. It was just ended up being this huge circle that took up the whole space, and it was just so special, and that little moment will never leave my mind.
Awesome. Abby?
So many. I think one of my favorite highlights is so Yom Kippur in Israel. It became my favorite holiday because the entire country shuts down. Radio stations don't work. There's no TV. Not a single shop is open, and there's not a single car on the road. So it's a Nativ tradition that every year after Kol Nidre, all of Nativ gets together in this major intersection, Kikar Paris. It's the intersection of Hamelech George Street and Agron Street. So it's 50 of us from Nativ. We all sat around this big circle, and we did sort of a tish. And we'd heard that people will tend to join in, but I was not expecting. There were hundreds of people who joined in, people from all parts of the spectrum of Judaism. It was just a truly magical experience. We didn't want it to end. We were there for hours, and it was truly incredible.
Nice. Sounds great. Yeah.
Mine's very similar to Abby's. Simchat Torah was probably one of the biggest highlights of being in Jerusalem, because even places that aren't shuls during the rest of the week somehow find a Torah to put in their building, in their room, in their something, whatever they have, and they everyone just goes hopping from place to place to dance with another Torah. And it was just really special, running down the streets singing Hashivenu v'nashuva, that whole idea of returning to Jerusalem. I returned to Jerusalem, and I was dancing with the Torah, and it was just one of the most incredible things. You're singing down the street, and exactly what Abby said, everyone around you can't help but rejoice with you and sing with you. And it was very, very special. It's one of those nights that I'll never forget.
I got to ask you one more question. So Yom Yerushalayim, during the 6-Day War, that was 53 years ago. A one word or a couple of word blessing for Jerusalem for the next 50 some years, as we look forward to the future. Just a one word blessing or a couple of words that you hope for Yerushalayim to come in the future.
I guess just may it continue to be a place of inspiration and a place in so many of our hearts.
I hope that it continues being a melting pot for so many religious people of all different backgrounds, and keeps exactly what Abby said earlier, a place of pilgrimage for the Jewish people.
I hope that the community aspect of it will live forever, and everyone will be able to experience it.
Beautiful. So I'm just going to end with words that we say as part of Psukei de Zimra every morning from Psalm 147. And I have to admit that when Mia was there this past year, I really had extra kavanah every time I came across these words, knowing that Mia was there, and frankly knowing that all three of you were there, and many other people that I love and care about. So it says in Psalm 147, Shabchi Yerushalayim et Hashem halali Elohayich Tzion. Jerusalem, praise God. Zion, sing to your God, who has fortified your gates. Ki chizak b'richei sha'araich, beirach banaich b'kirbech, and blessed all of the children within Jerusalem. Hasam givulech shalom, bringing peace to the borders of Jerusalem. Chelev chitim yaspi'ech, satisfying all of Jerusalem with the choicest wheat. So my prayer on this Yom Yerushalayim is that peace be within its borders, that it be safe and protected, the children within and all of those who dwell there, and that we should always look to Jerusalem just the way the three of you so eloquently have described, as a place of joy, a place of peace, a place of inspiration, a place of Torah, a place of community and gathering, and may we all merit many opportunities to walk its streets, breathe its air, and of course, eat its falafel. So Yom Yerushalayim Sameach, thank you three so much for sharing your memories, your thoughts, your dreams about Jerusalem. And again, Yom Yerushalayim Sameach.
Thank you.
So much.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. Thank you.